Hello out there, my fellow backyard stargazers, and welcome to At the Eyepiece. Tonight, I'm just doing a rather quick share again. Um, Boy, did I need to go ahead and have some clear skies to get out and try to get my mind off of all this turmoil going on. I hope you feel the same way. So sit back, enjoy. We're going to share some views of the cosmos live. Um, I'm broadcasting live from my little home site here in Christiana, Tennessee, and some modest equipment. Tonight we are using a Celestron C8 with a ZWO 294 color camera. And up on the screen first is our very first target. This is going to be Messier 88. Messier 88 is a galaxy, and let's go ahead and show you where we are pointed on the screen here, or on the sky rather, with our free program called Stellarium. If you don't know about this program, I really highly recommend you go ahead and look it up and download it. It is absolutely free and it is wonderful. So right now we have the scope pointed to the southwest, and we are basically at the tail end of Leo. Leo is setting right now, and as you can kind of get an idea here, we are in, let's see, constellation. What constellation we are in? Coma Berenices, I believe. And as you can see, all of these ovals are galaxies. Springtime is a major time for galaxies. We call it galaxy season as backyard stargazers. And as you can see, we still got plenty to view as our night sky transitions to the wonders of the summer Milky Way. As you can see, that's rising from the east. But right now, we're going to enjoy some galaxies. We're going to enjoy some views. This is a very nice spiral galaxy. And let's see, its magnitude, it's showing magnitude 13.8. I kind of think that that's really pretty low estimate. I really didn't think it was that low on the brightness scale. But we're going to go through this area of the night sky and show you a number of pretty objects. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the view right here at the eyepiece. All right, so we just crossed about the 10. Oh, no, we're at the 11-minute mark here on this. So we've taken 11 60-second exposures here for M88. Now we do have this slightly zoomed in, but let me go back to the full view here because there are a number of interesting objects in the field of view that I'd like to point out. Um, just to the right of the galaxy itself, our main galaxy here, our main spiral galaxy, not quite a face-on spiral, but darn close. We have a small galaxy over here, just to the right. A little bit further off to the right, almost out of frame, we have another galaxy. But what's really caught my eye is two, actually, there's three down here. But this one right over here on the lower right is very, very interesting. I've got to kind of try to cross-reference this. It's not showing up in my Stellarium product, but it looks like a very peculiar galaxy. Just a very different, unique shape. It might even be an interacting pair of galaxies, not exactly sure. And then we do have one more galaxy over here, actually another galaxy before we come to our final one. And that guy is right down here. So far, we've got 6 galaxies in our field of view, including the main galaxy, the Messier 88. We'll go back to a slightly zoomed in view of that, cropped in view here. And let's see, we'll scoot down just a tad, see if we can get all of them. Yeah, we can get basically all those in the field of view right here. Might be a couple of other very small dim galaxies that we're trying to pick up a little bit here, a little bit there. This area of the night sky is just full of galaxies. Let's reference back to our Stellarium software. You'll get an idea, see what I mean. So it's about where our scope's pointed, slightly off of the galaxy there. Obviously, one of the galaxies that we are looking at in our field of view, that looks to be 4516, but I'll have to try to identify that. Everything else is just not coming across as identifiable in this particular view for me. But as you can see, all of these ovals are galaxies. So this is just a galaxy hunting lover's dream through this area, uh, around the tail end of Leo, and then, of course, into Virgo. And as we are looking towards uh, the other constellation here, there's Canes Venatici, and then Coma Berenices, I believe, is where we're at. All right, so that is a brief description here of what we're looking. I'm going to continue to let this stack. Let me go ahead and adjust the view just a bit, and I'll just remind you, this is not a scope that is, in the Canary Islands. This is not a semi-professional instrument. This is, an 8-inch scope of somebody observing in their backyard, and just goes to show you the wonders of the universe that you can see with, yeah, you have to have a little bit of a decent uh, light grasp. Certainly, we're overcoming the light pollution with the camera. If we were outside visually trying to track this down with even an 8-inch instrument, yeah, we would probably be able to see the galaxy, but it certainly would not be within the splendor that we're seeing it right now. So sit back and enjoy, and I'll bring up the music again. Hey, I'll call out that that line that you see coming through the view here, that streak is more than likely a satellite, an Earth orbiting satellite. If it was something like a meteor, it would have been much faster, clearly come across the entire frame as well, probably brighter. As you can see in our 60-second exposure, this is the length of travel within that 60 seconds. As we stack the image, you'll see, and there it goes. There it goes all the way through the field of view. This is one of the major concerns. No doubt you've been hearing in the news about Elon Musk and the Starlink satellites that are being launched into orbit. And you may not understand some of the fuss that's coming from us backyard stargazers. If you're an astronomer, obviously you kind of know, but this is one of the main reasons why we're very concerned about the amount of satellites that are being launched into space, because this is just one coming through our field of view in a very small portion of the night sky. If we were out there and we were doing, taking longer exposures here of our galaxy, we have ways, if you're getting into astrophotography, you have ways to clean up those trails of satellites, etc. Certainly, if you're a visual observer, you're probably not going to be that much impacted. But if you're doing some science, um, and of course, like I said, astrophotography to a lesser degree, but if certainly if you're doing science, having that satellite trail coming through is not only a distraction, but it can really mess up your scientific data too. So that's kind of why a lot of us are not too happy about what's the last time I think I heard a 12,000 count satellite launch for Starlink. Um, Eventually, 12,000 Starlink satellites being up there in orbit, not counting, not counting the current and planned satellite count. So, yeah, we get a little bummed out thinking about that. But unfortunately, bummed out seems to be the theme going for 2020. So, try to not think about that other stuff and let's get back to observing. All right, so as we enjoy the view here of M88, I went ahead and grabbed a image of that so that I can post up to social media sites after the fact. Plus, this is kind of my observing log. I like to go ahead and keep images of the objects that I observe. As you can tell from the top, the software that I'm using, SharpCap Live, permits me to go ahead and name the object, and it does date stamp it, time stamp it, and it puts the total amount of time for the exposure, which is very, very handy when you're doing this type of stuff. So let's go ahead. I'll go ahead and use my Stellarium product, and we'll find another target to go to and observe tonight. So we certainly have our choices. Why don't we just scoot on over to M91? Not that far from M88. So we'll go ahead and we'll stop our guiding and we'll scoot on over to another galaxy. This time it's going to be M91. As you can tell, it's another spiral galaxy. In particular, I believe this one is classified as a barred spiral because of the prominent bar feature that you can see going through the galaxy there. So let's go ahead and get this centered up. I'm going to make a couple of quick little changes here. What I'm doing next is I'm using a piece of software that can do what's called plate solve. This makes sure that the telescope has the object that we want to observe as centered as possible. So let's go ahead and make sure that we can stretch this up maybe a bit. Let's see if this will plate solve this image. I'm not sure. I do have flats and biases applied, or flats and darks applied to this, which is really darkening the image. I found 13 sources, so that should be enough to successfully plate solve. Let's see what we got. Usually my go-tos are really good, but with a smaller field of view with this particular setup that I'm using, I see it at f6.3. Plate solving comes in immensely handy. All right, so now that we have the object centered, I can barely see it here. If I don't, right here is the object centered. So now we are going to go back to a 60-second exposure. And I got to make sure I get the right object here in the name because you don't want to go ahead and M91. All right, so we don't want to go ahead and mislabel that. And let's go to what's called Live Stack. Reset that. And we might have to do one quick little reset. As you can see, the little message up at the top of the screen indicates that I am doing what's called guiding this. Just make sure that the telescope stays on the target as well as possible because the mount can have little errors in it, and you need to have that running. Um, Obviously, some semi-professional observatories, SLO or the telescope.net, those things. Wow, those things are very, very good quality mounts, ultra professional series mounts, and they probably don't have the reliance upon guiding as much as I do in my backyard setup. All right, so we're pulling in a little bit of detail there of our Galaxy M91. Let's go back to our Stellarium software. Let's check out some information on what we're talking here. So magnitude 13.5. Gosh, that just does not seem accurate, but hey, that's what it's telling us it is. We're still in the same constellation. And let's go ahead and have the galaxy now build up on the view. One of the items that I did do here in the slight intermission is add some additional galaxies. So there's a little galaxy here, a PGC. I believe that stands for Primary Galaxy Catalog. And we're going to see, my bet is that galaxy, the PGC 41978 there, that is magnitude 14.46, is this little guy right here. So let me go ahead and turn the music back on, let this image build up and stack so it gets prettier and prettier as time goes on. So sit back, relax, and enjoy right here at the eyepiece. Now, I'm not too sure if my transparency tonight is bad. My exposure is 60 seconds. I usually go ahead and like to try to keep the exposures especially for broadcasting, really, really low. But as you can see, even with the 60-second exposure, we're still having a little bit of difficulty there pulling in some detail as we continue to stack these images on M91. But you definitely get the shape of the galaxy coming through. You can clearly see the bar. You can clearly see the spiral structure there. Again, picking up some smaller galaxies. This might even be a very, very small galaxy right over here. Um, dim galaxy, rather. But let that build up and continue to enjoy the view there. All right, so we have 12 minutes total on this galaxy. I think we're going to go ahead and pause and move on to our next object. Our next object is going to be, you guessed it, another galaxy. This one should be a pretty good view. Backyard stargazers really enjoy it, including myself. It's going to be Messier 64. It's going to be called the Black Eye Galaxy. And once we bring this up in the field of view there, I think you'll notice why we call it that. So bear with as we move to our next object in the night sky. All right, so we're going to be bringing up M64, Messier 64. Now, this is considerably brighter than a couple of the galaxies that we've been observing. This is magnitude 8.5, so it should be giving us a pretty good view here as we stack our 60-second or 1-minute exposures. This one is also a spiral galaxy, but as you can tell from the orientation, it's not quite face on, not quite edge on, probably 50% there. But look at the prominent dust lanes going through the core there of that spiral. So that should be really, really good for us to go ahead and get in the view. Let's go ahead and tone down our, there we are. So there is our very first grab of our galaxy. So as it begins to stack here, it should get a little bit improved. Let me go ahead and zoom in a little bit on this one because that should do well for us to zoom in. Let's zoom out here. And again, we're in the same region of the night sky. We are still pointed basically west, southwest. And the view, oh, I flipped that around. Let me go ahead and get that back to normal because I was like, that did not look normal. So we got Leo is just about set now. And, we're relatively, we're not that high up in the night sky as far as pointing the telescope. Not sure if I can tell what our altitude is. Do I have those settings? I do not have those settings right now in Stellarium, but as you can see, we're still really in the world of galaxies here in this region. Our last object of the night is going to be a completely different class of object, but I'm not going to tell you what that is just yet. I'm going to go ahead and be quiet, and I'm going to let this view continue to stack, and I'm going to turn the music up and let you sit back and enjoy the wonders of our universe. All right, so as we are coming up on 10 minutes of exposure time total for our Messier 64 Galaxy here, commonly called the Black Eye Galaxy for obvious reasons, this prominent dust lane. Oh, we had another satellite go through our field of view. That's our line here. You can kind of see it very faintly there, but that's another satellite, of course, right through our view of the galaxy too. But we have our prominent M64 right here. Some okay detail tonight coming through with the actual dust lanes here. Of course, we get some in the spiral arms a little bit as well. Could really use a lot more exposure, but to be as close to live as possible, especially when we're doing this electronically assisted observing like I'd like to do, we want to have the shortest possible exposures. At least I do. So 60-second exposures, letting it stack here for 10 minutes. That's pretty good for an object of this type. So that's going to be our last object as far as a galaxy goes. We are going to wrap up tonight for this approximate hour-long broadcast. We're going to wrap up with another object, completely different class of object. This one is going to be a globular cluster. And you know, let's try it now. I won't be able to do that one. I think, you know, I was hoping maybe I can get both in the same field of view. Let's go to M3. So, globular cluster M3 is coming up here, right here at the eyepiece. Just give me a moment to move the scope. Listen to the music in the meantime. There's M3. You can clearly see this object here in the 8-second exposure. I don't think we're going to go up to... We're going to do 30 seconds here on M3. Gosh, I haven't even loaded a dark for 30 seconds in so long. I'm not sure if I even have a dark for 30 seconds. Most of the time, I'm doing 60 seconds with this particular setup. I do have a dark. Let me see how that comes through. But do I have it? There we go. There's a C8 one. All right, so let's go ahead and let this begin to stack here for our 30-second exposures on the globular cluster M3. Let's check out some specs on this. And this one's in Cain's Venatici, the constellation there. If you were looking up right about now, oh, not quite directly above your head, but the prominent, rather orange hue, a very light orange hue, that is the star Arcturus. So we're kind of close to that star in that field of view here on M3. M3 is a globular cluster. This is made up of hundreds of thousands of stars. These are some of the oldest objects in the universe, actually. So and another thing I'll point out is that earlier in this evening, we were looking outside of our own galaxy to completely different galaxies. Now, we are looking at objects within our own galaxy. So this globular cluster is in our own galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy. This is magnitude 6.2, so it's the brightest object that we have seen thus far tonight. Let's go ahead and make some adjustments for our M3. Probably a little bit overexposed here on M3, but see what we got. There we go. Look at that. I mean, just a complete ball of stars. Isn't that pretty? That's 3 stacks so far. For M3, I'm just going to let this beautiful image build up on the screen. Enjoy the view. Globular cluster M3. Let me change some of the information here on our different lists. Kind of rusty with this broadcast and stuff. Usually have this all pretty much locked in, and that one is in. To see, I think that is how you spell it. I think that is how you. Don't ding me for not knowing how to spell that accurately. I'll cross-reference here in a second. Oh, come on. Zoom out. There we go. Hey, I got it spelled right. All right, so let's get that out of the way so that we can enjoy this beautiful view. Sit back and enjoy right here at the eyepiece. I just caught that I put Galaxy, and I gotta update that real quick. Told you I was a little rusted with this live broadcasting. Didn't even catch that. Now we're 100% accurate. And yes, for the last 17 minutes, I've been putting coma in there for the constellation. It's not coma Venatici, Cain's Venatici there. So I hope that wasn't so much of a distraction for those of you that knew that mistake there. Hey, only human. Let's get back to doing some broadcasting. It's been doing a lot of tinkering around with different things, uh, messing around mostly with setups. Those of you that know the channel, my other scope, the Explorer Scientific, usually it's an f8 Newtonian. Just decided to switch to the C8 to get a little bit more up close and personal there with some of the galaxies during the galaxy season. Certainly enjoying the views here with the C8 as well, a little bit more focal length for these smaller objects such as these globular clusters. So when we go back to summertime and we get more of items such as nebula and open clusters, etc., we might switch back to the much wider field of view of the 8-inch f4. But for now, I'm enjoying the C8 at f6.3, even though it will take longer exposures to build up. You have less light coming into the scope, but um, hey, I think tonight was a win. Everything seemed to be running. I had a lot of concern that there was wind here and that wind was going to play some havoc, but fortunately the wind died down as soon as the sun set, so very fortunate there. So I sure hope that you have enjoyed the views this evening. I sure hope that this gave you a little break of all the turmoil that is going on in our world right now, our country. And I hope that you enjoyed the beauty of the universe with me. I certainly enjoyed sharing it with you. So until next time, here's clear skies so that we can all take a view and talk about it right here at the Eyepiece.